later today, the Senate will vote on 2 resolutions that would undermine U.S. influence and credibility in the Middle East and ultimately make the region a more dangerous place. Some of our colleagues seek to block arms sales to 2 of the U.S.'s closest partners in the region, Bahrain and Qatar. These resolutions are misguided. They would make the United States a less reliable partner, weaken the influence we have with our friends, and open the door to other more unscrupulous powers like Russia and China. And there is the small matter that neither of these resolutions would even solve the problem that seems to have motivated them. I understand that many members of this body are genuinely concerned about some of the actions of our Saudi partners in Yemen. Fortunately, the Senate has repeatedly expressed these concerns directly through our legislative and oversight authority. And as I've stated in the past, members should share their concerns and discuss these matters directly with members of our administration or with Saudi officials. And if senators are upset about the State Department's recent invocation of a national emergency to advance arms sales to Saudi Arabia, they'll have an opportunity to vote on that matter later. So the Senate has ample opportunity to make our voice heard about Riyadh's behavior. But the 2 resolutions we'll vote on today are not that opportunity. It's something else. Whatever frustrations our colleagues may feel with the course of the conflict in Yemen, taking swipes at our relationships with Bahrain and Qatar is certainly not the right response. Bahrain's involvement in the Yemen conflict has been limited to defensive border security operations, and for the past 2 years, Qatar has been completely uninvolved. Moreover, both Bahrain and Qatar provide absolutely essential support to our military operations in the region, without which our ability to project power and protect U.S. interests would be severely challenged. I assume everyone knows that Qatar is home to the U.S. Central Command's forward headquarters in the region, with 10,000 U.S. personnel and upwards of 100 aircraft. It's the hub for many of our ongoing efforts against ISIS and other regional threats. In Bahrain, you'll find the headquarters of the U.S. Navy's 5th Fleet. That's another 7,000 U.S. personnel, plus assets responsible for command and control of over 3 million square miles of international waters. So I would remind our colleagues of the briefing we received recently about the growing Iranian threat in the region. I would encourage them to reflect on recent attacks, probably by Iran or its proxies, against civilian vessels in UAE, against civilian airports in Saudi Arabia and UAE, and near our embassy in Baghdad. In fact, literally just hours ago, 2 more commercial shipping vessels were apparently attacked off the coast of Oman. These attacks may appear directed at the countries that use them to export petrochemicals or at the international owners of the vessels. But the fact is they threaten the very underpinnings of the global trading system and customary law of the sea that ensures freedom of transit on the seas. We don't know who was responsible for these latest attacks, not yet anyway, but it's not unreasonable to suspect an Iranian hand in them. I hope in coming days we have clarity about who is responsible, but what is clear is the growing tension and instability out in that region. Threats to U.S. personnel, interest, and partners posed by Iran, do we really want to send this kind of signal to our partners? If we turn our back on them, can we continue to count on the significant support they provide us or the freedom of maneuver our large presence in their countries affords us? As the State Department has announced, the proposed sales that are at issue today would provide each of these host nations with important enhanced security capabilities, including anti-aircraft systems, and support equipment. They will also tie these nations closer to the United States at a time when our adversaries would happily sell comparable weapons at less cost and with fewer restrictions. In recent years, we've seen both Republican and Democratic administrations seek to reduce U.S. military footprint in the region and have our partners assume more responsibility for their own security. So it's curious, genuinely curious, that senators would want to not only sever security ties with these partners, but also limit their ability to defend themselves. In each of these cases, the U.S. arms sales in question have followed normal procedures. They've been properly screened and vetted, and they've been reviewed and approved by both the chairman and the ranking members of the Foreign Relations Committee and the House Foreign Affairs Committee. So let me say that again. The chairman and ranking members of these committees reviewed and approved these arms sales. That's bipartisan, bicameral support. So in sum, Mr. President, I would ask my colleagues who support these resolutions whether they have even spoken to the Bahraini or Qatari ambassadors to discuss any concerns. I'd encourage them to visit Doha and Manama to confer with the leaders of these countries and speak with thousands of American sailors and airmen based there. I would encourage our colleagues to ask our own senior military officials whether we'll be better off if our partners purchase Russian or Chinese military systems instead of ours. And I would encourage them to ask our diplomats whether Americans will have more or less influence with our partners if we capriciously block their purchase of American weapons. So look, I would strongly urge each of our colleagues to reject these resolutions.